Greetings and welcome to a video demonstration of Foundry ElecRoc 6, a state-of-the-art JDF PDF prepress workflow developed by Beijing Foundry Electronics, one of the largest electronics companies in China. My name is Christian Lemoyne. I'm an electronic prepress technician with over 25 years of experience. I'm also a prepress workflow trainer and an ID Alliance G7 certified expert in proofer and press calibration. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Foundry ElecRoc 6, a software product that provides an excellent and unmatched value for those wanting to upgrade from an outdated version of another prepress workflow or those starting a new prepress operation. ElecRoc is a client-server PDF workflow with a basic architecture that is quite similar to most modern prepress workflows, such as Kodak Prinergy, Fuji XMF, or Agfa Apogee. ElecRoc is JDF compliant, and it processes full resolution native transparency PDFs through all the rasterization steps. The internal PDFs in ElecRoc preserve their transparency and resolution throughout the workflow, and this to guarantee the highest quality output. And also, ElecRoc supports the latest versions of the Adobe Creative Suite PDFs. ElecRoc server is PC-based and the clients are Java-based. The clients are fully functional on both Macs and PCs. And to facilitate this presentation, we're using an iMac computer. And we are going to be looking at the server through a TeamViewer interface. The server runs all the processes. The hardware and the PC server, running Windows Server 2008 through 2012, can be tailored to handle your specific workload. Basic configuration with 16 gigs of RAM, a speedy 4-core processor, and a speedy hard drive suits the needs of most small to medium shops. The server functionality is modular, and we've just launched the server. And it can be configured with independent JTPs, job ticket processes, much like Kodak's Prinergy. And these modules can be further configured to run multiple instances of each JTP, taking advantage of multiple parallel processing in the operating system and of multi-core processes in the PC computer itself. For example, most processor-intensive tasks like the PDF rasterizer, the trapper, or Eco Ink can be configured with multiple instances that can be load balanced to match your particular workload. Most customers find the basic configuration quite productive for their needs, but the server configuration is scalable, even by using distributed computing across several servers with the master and slave servers to achieve maximum throughput for even an extremely high throughput environment. This modular configuration is similar in architecture to Kodak's Prinergy Connect workflow and can be configured with the specific processes tailored to the specific hardware configuration that match your workflow needs. The licensing is based on a license key and is very flexible per JTP, allowing for time trial periods for the entire workflow and or for specific JTPs. And this allows you to experiment with features to make sure they meet your actual production requirements before you even purchase them. The PC server itself can be configured with continuity of operation features such as mirrored and or backup hard drives, redundant power supplies, and SSD drives, and all of these tailored to match your requirements. Each processor can be controlled independently on the server, And once configured and optimized for your workflow, the server itself can be started and stopped with a single click. A click on the red button here stops all the processes, and a click on the green button here activates all the processes. And once up the server, each process can be independently started or stopped or configured. And here we have two instances of the PDF generator running. The ElecRoc server also controls user authentication. All connecting client computers must be authorized through the server GUI, and the medium license allows for 5 concurrent connected client computers, and additional users can also be licensed for very minor fees. The server GUI also controls file access points to your network. And this is where you would be defining access to your file server, your 1-bit stiff shooter, or any hot folders you may want to set up to automate certain functions. The network path for SIP34 PFF files to be sent for in-key presetting of your presses, or any output folders you may want to set up to receive output files from any step in the workflow. Much like Prinergy server, the JTPs correspond to your license options, and these JTPs define the processes that can be accessed in the client. These processes can be grouped in 3 broad categories. The JTPs that process and modify the input files into the workflow, such as the PDF generator, the PDF tools, PDF CMS, the EcoInk, and the Trapper. And then the JTPs that impose the input PDFs into output surfaces, such as the Imposer, the Composer, and output JTPs that produce the 1-bit TIFFs or the 8-bit TIFF files, and the calibrated inkjet proofs, the SIP34 in-key presetting PFFs, or the 8-bit TIFF files, such as the PDF rasterizer, the pre-riff, or the post-riff proofing JTPs. So let's have a look at the ElecRoc client interface to demo the functionality of all these processes. The client is a Java-based client, and it acts like a dedicated browser to the ElecRoc website published by the server. The client itself has the same functionality on both Macs and PCs. And once launched the client, you authenticate using your username and password. In this case, we're using the generic administrator login. And once launched, the client presents you with an initial view of a job list in rows with job attributes in columns. And the columns can be sorted through individually, alphanumerically, by clicking on the heading of that column. You can also search using the search bar and narrow your search down, or you can search using a time range to narrow down your search criteria. You can access any job from the job list by simply clicking on the job name and navigate back to the job list. And once you have navigated into a job, you're presented with on the leftmost column with a list of processes. These processes are the modules that that you're licensed for, and that you can simply drag and drop into your workflow to configure your workflow. You also have a set of any predefined job tickets or workflows that you would have created, where all these modules can be pre-configured in an organized set of functions to process jobs according to your specifications. When you click on any node of a processor in the workflow, you're presented with 3 columns in your workflow. One is your input column. The second one is your output column. So in this case, the PDF Tools modules is selected. This is the input PDF of PDF Tools, and this is the output PDF of PDF Tools. And you also have a JPEG preview displaying the output file or the input file, depending on which you have selected. If you double click on any node of the workflow, you are presented with the set of parameters that are particular for that node, and you can load preset configurations of these parameters, or you can individually click on a particular field to change its particular properties. So the ElecRoc workflow GUI is very intuitive. You can also link and unlink any particular node by right-clicking on it, and you can either disconnect its previous link or disconnect the outgoing link, or you can relink it by using the linking tool. You can also get detailed information about any of those resources by right-clicking and getting the information panel. Or we can actually open one of these resources, because these are PDFs, directly in Acrobat. And once in Acrobat, we have access to all the Acrobat editing tools, such as if you have pit stop loaded, anything that you want to do to this PDF, including separation previews or any editing that you would want to perform using the available tools in Acrobat. So you can also quickly navigate back to any of the previously opened jobs that you have in your that you previously opened in your current client session, or you can navigate back to your entire job list. Generally speaking, the most efficient way to use the workflow is to create individual jobs for each job you will be processing, but some highly repetitive jobs can also be automated with preset jobs and hot folders that are going to automatically process your input files. So let's take a look at that, at a hot folder that we have here. to process business cards. The hot folder has been set up on the ElecRoc server in the founder share directory and 12 up business cards folder. And these are the file formats: printer.prn file, a Windows printer file, a TIFF file, PDF file, PostScript files, EPS files, or even a JPEG file that we can make eligible to process these input files. So let's go grab a business card and put it through this workflow that's been set up to process business cards for digital output. So let's grab our sample file here. We have a sample business card that we're going to be copying and stepping across, and it's inputted to our hot folder here. And we can watch it as it goes through the workflow. It's going to process and make a merged PDF that we can actually use to print out for digital output. Let's go back and see if we can set up a new workflow with a hot folder to process, let's say, a 16-page brochure automatically, and let's use one of our preset workflows to set up this hot folder here. So we've brought in a preset workflow here. Let's go back and add a hot folder as an input folder to this workflow. And let's set it up. So we have a hot folder that we already set up here. Let's say 16-page. Let's choose that one here. Let's apply it. Let's link it to our PDF generator. Let's right-click and make it a live hot folder. And now let's go back and let's copy the 16-page file into here. Samples files here. Here is a 16-page PDF. Just a standard kind of 16-page PDF. So let's copy that one here into our 16-page brochure hot folder. And while this is processing here, let's go choose a template to impose it. So from our master template library, let's go look at a 16-page 2436. Oh, that should do. And assign that to our imposer here. And then we can actually link our trapping module to the imposer. So the files have gone through, the 16 pages have gone through the PDF generator, and they're now processing through the EcoInk module. This is an ink saving module that is preset to a Dmax of 280 to achieve ink savings that will allow you to save roughly, conservatively, 12 to 15% on your cyan, magenta, and yellow inks throughout your shop. So its files are now going through the trapper. So this workflow is taking the 16-page PDF, generating input PDFs, single-page input PDFs, doing the ink saving processing, doing the trapping processing, and then it'll be imposing the 16 pages to the template that we've selected in the imposer. And it's going to make then a merged PDF and export it to a folder. And we can also take that merged imposition and process it through the PDF rasterizer and export it to a 1-bit TIFF shooter. So the trapping has completed, and we can see that we have a front and a back signature. We can take these signatures and process them through our PDF rasterizer. Let's take a look. Oh, we have a 200 line screen selected here with a G7 rasterizing curve. So we can take signatures and process them to the PDF rasterizer. We could also have selected that process as an automatic process. So while this is processing here, let's take a look at our imposed PDF. And this is an imposed PDF of the front of the 16-page brochure. And what you can see is you also have lines that are saved in a separate proof line separation that indicates your fold lines and your trim lines. And you can turn those on and off using your separation preview. And that's an optional feature in the imposer. That's the front signature, and that's the back signature of our 16-page brochure. This is where you have the option to turn on and off that proof line feature here in the imposer. So we're still generating the 1-bit TIFF files for the rasterization process of this, and we can monitor the job status of this. And we can see that the front separations have been parsed, and it's generating the 1-bit TIFF for the process. While this is going on, we can double check the parameters of our 1-bit TIFF export. And right now we have this set up to a local folder. We could also take this impositions that have been generated by the imposer, and at this stage these are JDF impositions, or we can take the exported PDF from that JDF data, and we can proof them to a pre-rip proof module that we have configured. That would give us a pre-rip proof. Or should we want to have a post-rip proof, we also have that as an available feature, so that we can have an inkjet dot proof with a soft dot of the actual raster data, the 1-bit TIFFs that are going to make the plates generated. Let's double check again on the status of our job here. All right, and we can see that the rasterization of the front has been completed, and the back has been completed also now. So the PDF rasterizer here, we have the front signature here. Clicking on the front signature, we can see that we have a JPEG preview of the front data. We can have JPEG previews of the individual separations in any combination that we want. We can also double click on this and get the same view here. We can view each separation individually or in combination. But even more helpful is we have the ability to get a detailed bitmap preview of our work, where we can actually zoom in and see the actual dots, the actual 1-bit TIFF that's actually going to make up our plate. And these are the actual dots on the plate, not a simulation of the dot. You're actually looking at the actual 1-bit TIFF that is going to make up this plate. And this is a great way to make sure and the quality control before you actually output metal, and it saves, can be used to save time and money by preventing the inadvertent output of bad plates. So this has been a quick overview of the hot folder functionality of ElecRoc. As you can see from the available list of processes in the processor list, there are many processes available in ElecRoc that allow you to manipulate and transform PDFs, such as pre-flight with interactive navigation to any flagged issues or informations or errors, notices. You have PDF tools, margin adjustments. You have a page clipper, which is an interactive cropping tool. The PDF tools, which allows you to perform scaling adjustments, spot color remapping, and color remapping in general. You can remap spot color to spot color, spot color to CMYK, or even CMYK to spot. You can scale anamorphically or proportionately, or you can scale to a particular page size using this tool. You have a PDF CMS, which is a color management module, which allows you to do RGB to CMYK conversions according to a particular target profile, or you can do CMYK to CMYK according to target profiles also. You can do remapping of neutral grays to black, or you can do specific color remapping, specific color values to other color values. So you also have as we saw, Eco Ink, where you can use a pre-generated profile to target a Dmax for your separations that allows you to do smart CMYK ink savings. And you also have a double burn module, which allows you to superimpose PDFs according to the predefined alignments. And of course, you have the trapping module to perform trapping. But as with most modern workflows, what we would actually recommend is using the interactive tools in Acrobat with appropriate plugins like PitStop Professional to perform all the necessary basic PDF editing prior to inputting any files into the workflow itself. It just makes more sense to use interactive tools where they are available to perform these edits on not on a page by page basis, but on an input file basis, and have the interactive ability to monitor the edits that you've performed, and then combine these edits that you've performed prior to inputting the files with the automated processes in ElecRoc, such as the automatic trapping and the ink saving modules. So we recommend pre-flighting and editing input files in Acrobat with PitStop ahead of inputting them to the ElecRoc to make sure that, for example, all your fonts are embedded, all the pages are in the right order, and you have the correct orientation of all pages, and that all the separations are properly defined. And we feel that this is actually more efficiently achieved with the appropriate tools interactively in Acrobat prior to inputting your files into the workflow. And this is something that is actually the same recommendation that we would make for any modern workflow currently in use in prepress. So assuming that these steps have been taken, let's remove these processes here, and let's start to build a workflow that we can actually use to process a job. So we have our input files being input to the PDF generator, and after that, assuming that we've set all our separations and we're processing all the files, they're all in the right order. So the next step in our workflow would probably be an ink saving step, and after that we would have a trapping step. This is probably a fairly common rational way of building a workflow. In our trapper, we could load a trapping preset, and we can adjust the trapping width by inputting different parameters here in the trap width part of the trapping setup. As you can see from the available list of processes in the processor list, there are many processes available in ElecRoc that allow you to manipulate and transform PDFs. such as pre-flight with interactive navigation to any flagged issues or informations or errors, notices. You have PDF tools, margin adjustments. You have a page clipper, which is an interactive cropping tool. The PDF tools, which allows you to perform scaling adjustments, spot color remapping, and color remapping in general. You can remap spot color to spot color, spot color to CMYK, or even CMYK to spot. You can scale anamorphically or proportionately, or you can scale to a particular page size using this tool. You have a PDF CMS, which is a color management module, which allows you to do RGB to CMYK conversions according to a particular target profile, or you can do CMYK to CMYK according to target profiles also. You can do remapping of neutral grays to black, or you can do specific color remapping, specific color values to other color values. So you also have as we saw, Eco Ink, where you can use a pre-generated profile to target a Dmax for your separations that allows you to do smart CMYK ink savings. And you also have a double burn module, which allows you to superimpose PDFs according to the predefined alignments. And of course, you have the trapping module to perform trapping. But as with most modern workflows, what we would actually recommend is using the interactive tools in Acrobat with appropriate plugins like PitStop Professional to perform all the necessary basic PDF editing prior to inputting any files into the workflow itself. It just makes more sense to use interactive tools where they are available to perform these edits on not on a page by page basis, but on an input file basis, and have the interactive ability to monitor the edits that you've performed, and then combine these edits that you've performed prior to inputting the files with the automated processes in ElecRoc, such as the automatic trapping and the ink saving modules. So we recommend pre-flighting and editing input files in Acrobat with PitStop ahead of inputting them to the ElecRoc to make sure that, for example, all your fonts are embedded, all the pages are in the right order, and you have the correct orientation of all pages, and that all the separations are properly defined. And we feel that this is actually more efficiently achieved with the appropriate tools interactively in Acrobat prior to inputting your files into the workflow. And this is something that is actually the same recommendation that we would make for any modern workflow currently in use in prepress. So assuming that these steps have been taken, let's remove these processes here, and let's start to build a workflow that we can actually use to process a job. So we have our input files being input to the PDF generator, and after that, assuming that we've set all our separations and we're processing all the files, they're all in the right order. So the next step in our workflow would probably be an ink saving step, and after that we would have a trapping step. This is probably a fairly common rational way of building a workflow. In our trapper, we could load a trapping preset, and we can adjust the trapping width by inputting different parameters here in the trap width part of the trapping setup. We can then start to input our input files into the workflow as we start setting it up. So if we right click on the PDF generator, we can hopefully navigate to our file server, and from our file server select an appropriate PDF to input into this. In this case, we'll be selecting a 409 megabyte PDF from one of our previous test files submitted by a customer. And this will start processing as we're continuing to set up our workflow. The next step in the workflow would be to set up a new imposer. And in this case, it's going to be a saddle stitch workflow. And let's create some templates and show you a little bit of the functionality of the imposer. So as we launch this, this is an 8.5 by 1124 page job, so let's say 28 page job. So we're going to build a 16 page template, an 8 page work and turn, and a 4 page work and turn. So we'll start off with a 16 page. We'll choose a 2436 plate accompanied by 2436 paper. And we'll see that right off the bat we have our center of sheet marks and our side guides defined, bleeding off the edge of the sheets. Under resources, we can select to create a new layout, and this is a dialog much similar to what you have in preps. Choose a page size here. It's 2 rows, 4 columns, head to head, centered to the center of the sheet, with the default margins of 1/8 of an inch around each page. And then, since this is a saddle stitch job, we can click on these 2 margins to zero them out. 0, tab 0. And then we can add some marks. As you can see, we already have trim marks, fold marks set up, and these are all coming from the preferences dialog marks parameters. So according to these parameters, these have determined the way these crop marks and fold marks and these 4 register marks around the edge of the layout were brought in. At this stage, we can bring in a set of smart marks, or if we wanted to, we could have brought these marks in individually. So just to show you the functionality of this, you can bring in custom marks, which are any page that you have brought in through the PDF generator, you can make into a custom mark. So you can just bring in an EPS or PDF and make that into a custom mark. But you have some system marks that are defined already preset. So let's bring in a color bar, and we can choose to um, align this color bar. Let's bring it up to the 1/4 of an inch up from the edge of our layout, and then let's make the each color block 1/4 of an inch, and then let's take out the option to have 50% color blocks and CMYK, and it will show up. And let's bring this throughout the layout and make this, let's say, 35 inches. We can also bring in a text mark, which is going to print in the gripper end of the sheet. So it's sort of just instructions for our plate maker that are going to have the color ID for the plate maker. We can then also choose to paginate this. This is the same dialog that you have in preps, where you can basically select your page positions, and we can additionally bring in, let's say, another page mark here, and just have the surface name here, and this will be an indicator for the bindery in the high folio lip area of the job name and the form, the printing form. So here we have an imposition with front and back, set up a template that we can then submit to our job. So this is, we're submitting a 16-page template to the job. And we can also upload it to our master template directory. So this is being a saddle stitch. Let's just upload it to our master template directory. And then we can also edit this. Let's make this into a work and turn, an 8-page work and turn. So from sheet-wise, let's use a single-sided view, and we can just renumber these pages so that we have 1. This would be 2, 3, 4. This would be an 8-page work and turn form. So let's submit this as an 8-page work and turn form. We can also upload it to the master template directory. And now we need to have a 4-page work and turn for the cover form. So we're going to change the orientation of these pages so everything is up. Let's change this margin here, make it a little wider here. And then let's change our page positions. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then set that and match this here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we can also submit this as a 4-page work and turn. And we can also have the option of saving it to our master template directory. So once our templates have been created, we can go back to our Imposer and we'll see that they are now available for our selection. We could also have selected them from our master template directory, and as you can see, they are here in the save locations. So we're going to build a template list much like you would in Prinigy. So the cover is the first form, and let's put then the 16 pager and the 8 page. I'm going to make sure that we have saddle stitched chosen here, and our template is going to reflect the job name and the signature that is being applied. We can then take a complete run list, select it all, copy, and paste it into the run list of the Imposer. I could also have dragged all those pages into the Imposer. At this stage, we can also move pages around or replace pages in this run list. This is the actual run list of the Imposer that's going to be submitted. We have 28 pages, and we can see that we have 28 page positions defined in our template layouts. So let's submit these 28 pages to our impositions. So the Imposer will process these into JDFs, and we can see that we have the cover work and turn, we have the 16-page form, and we have the 8-page work and turn form that have been named according to the specifications that we chose in the naming template, using the job name and just the surface information, signature 1, front, signature 2, etc. So at this stage, we could choose to output an Epson proof, an imposed Epson proof. We could also choose to output a merged PDF of the imposition and export that merged PDF. So why don't we, and we could also choose to rasterize. So rasterize, and then eventually once the rasterization process is done, we would send the 1-bit tips out to our shooter to make plates. So let's grab these and let's double check our rasterization here. So we have a 200 line screen preset. We could have chosen 175 or and modify it to whichever way we wanted to. But let's process these through the PDF rasterizer. And while these are processing on the PDF rasterizer, let's also grab the output JDFs and make a merged PDF out of them. And while this is happening, we could also, let's see why I did that. Oh, because the output path wasn't specified here. But anyway, we're just going to look at the merged PDF here. So while these are processing, we could also grab these and output them to an Epson. And I don't actually have an Epson hooked up to this test computer right now, but by simply dragging and dropping them, that would initiate that process. So looking at this merge PDF of our impositions, we can see that, oh, well, look at that. We need to this setting here. Signatures. Let's grab this. PDF export as well. Define an output path for the PDF export. And then let's resubmit these files to the PDF merger. Okay. And now the PDF merger has our output files here that we can actually view. So this would be our cover, work and turn. This would be our 8-page work and turn. Oh no, this is the 16-page front and 16-page back. And the last one would be the 8-page work and turn. So let's check on the status of our PDF rasterizer. And we see that it's humming along. So we have some separations that we can already look at. So this is the cover plates, the cover 1-bit tips are ready. And the first 16 page is ready. And it's still processing these. So why don't we take a look at the cover separations using the TIFF bitmap preview feature, which allows us to zoom in, and anywhere we double click, we're actually looking at the actual dots in the file. I just want to bring out the fact that the files that we're processing were sample files submitted to us by our customers, meaning problem files that they had problems processing through their previous workflows, which is why they were interested in demoing the ElecRoc in the first place. Either as an upgrade to their workflow or as a brand new workflow. So having a look back again at our process, and by the way, the job status window is a way that you, if you had multiple jobs processing at the same time, you could change their priority in terms of the queue. Let's take a look at this. We are still processing the signature back, so that the back side of the 16 page is still processing. And because these jobs include transparencies, anytime you have transparency processing, it's going to take a little longer to process. Also, this is just a test computer. not optimized at all to a production mode computer where we would have SSD drives, which would speed up the process noticeably. But we can take a look at, this is the front side of the 16 pager. The back side is also now rasterized, and the PDF rasterizer is going through the last 8-page work and turn. So back again in the TIFF bitmap preview, we can take a look. And these are the features that are going to save you money, because you can check on, make sure that the actual plate matches what you want to process. It's a quick way. One of the initial checks that we recommend is turning off the black and making sure that all your black overprints are actually properly defined, and that your rich blacks are also properly rasterized. Okay, so, and now we have the last surface properly rendered. So this is a quick way of showing you how to build a workflow from scratch, bring in your files, and process them through the ElecRoc interface. So this flashing warning sign at the top right of the screen alerts us that we have an error that occurred, or a warning in a previous step. And if we double click on it, we can see that the PDF export module was not configured properly because it didn't have an exporting path. But now that all these processes have been configured appropriately, we can actually save this as a pre-configured workflow, including even the template that was assigned in the imposer. And this entire workflow is now available as a resource here by drag and drop, or we can actually invoke it when we create a new job as we create the new job. So this is a very powerful way to create a completely configured workflows with all the parameters preset for each step in your workflow, to make sure that all the operators in your company are processing your files according to the presets that you've pre-selected for them. In addition to the workflow feature, under the administrator tab and under the processor management, we can create individual presets for each of the modules in the workflow. For example, if we wanted to have, let's say, a 300 line screen preset with the processing spot colors with a specific rasterization curve, we can load all and then a specific rotation of the 1-bit TIFF. We could save all this exact configuration as a predefined parameter, and this would be, for example, 300 line screen, a round dot, CMYK spot with spots. And if we apply this preset here, back in our job, that would become the default parameter for the PDF rasterizer, or we could just invoke it back as that saved preset. So you have a lot of features that allow you to standardize, customize, and automate your workflows. On top of that, you have the resources administration interface, where you can import and export templates. You can manage rasterization curves. You can create tune curves to adjust for particular printing conditions. For example, if you have offset papers that have a lot of dot gain, then you can create curves to offset that dot gain. You can also create curves to account for specific press conditions on specific presses. If you have, for example, a particular press where you know that the magenta has a tendency to print a little hot. So you have a lot of customization available. Under the administration tab, you also have the ability to manage your archives, where you can archive your jobs. And under the Tools tab, you also have a backup manager where you can back up your entire workflow. And we recommend doing this periodically, so you always have a current backup, probably on a monthly basis at least, of your entire system. Before wrapping up, I'd like to reiterate briefly some of the main advantages of the ElecRoc workflow. First of all, I think there's an easy to use and easy to learn graphical user interface, as you can probably tell from this demo, hopefully. There's also a flexible licensing with available trial periods for either the entire system or some features that you might want to road test before you actually purchase them. But from a savings standpoint, I think the main features is the inclusion of an integrated imposition software, which compared to, for example, a license of preps, which costs you thousands of dollars, each client on the ElecRoc has a fully licensed imposition application built into it. So if you multiply that by the 5 clients that are available on a medium license, then that's potentially tens of thousands of dollars of savings right there. There's also included with the ElecRoc an integrated ICC profiling suite, itself worth thousands of dollars. And with that with the installation of ElecRoc, we include the calibration of your inkjet printer to your chosen target, such as G7 Graphol, for example, and the calibration of your press to match your proof. And on top of that, I think one of the greatest features is that with the installation of the ElecRoc, we actually guarantee your satisfaction. So satisfaction guaranteed, or we'll take it back. And so far, this has never happened, thankfully. So we want to thank you for taking the time to watch this demo of the ElecRoc workflow. And we hope that we've been able to answer some of the questions you might have had. And we definitely invite you to contact us to arrange a customized demo with the actual files that have been giving you some heartache. And we'll be glad to take them to a test run and show you that hopefully the ElecRoc workflow can be the answer to all your prepress workflow needs. Thank you very much and have a good day.